guy picked a school that has never won a national championship. Usually those #1 guys go to Alabama, Southern Cal, Ohio State, Florida, somewhere like that. So we were able to get a #1 guy. In other words, he said, I've got confidence that my home state university can win big, and that's what he wants to do. And so it was a big boost to get a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, just because it sends a message. He believes we can win, and hopefully we can, and those are our goals. How much longer do I plan on coaching? That's a good question. I always say 4 or 5 more. Maybe I'll start saying 3 or 4 more. I don't know. But health-wise, I feel about like I did 10 years ago or so. And we've got the best players since I've been there. Our program, I really believes, heading in the right direction. If it was going bad and we're getting beat, no, I'd be gone. But we got an excellent coaching staff there, too. It's very easily could be the best coaching staff I've ever had, because these assistant coaches, they can go recruit the guys. I mean, I give them out a little input, but they don't need me hanging around the guys all the time. They can go recruit them themselves. They can sell our program and the opportunity to play and so forth. So it's a strong group of assistant coaches that I've got, and I'm not as stressful as most coaches are. So I guess that gives me a chance for a little bit more longevity than a lot of coaches.
All right, go down here to Ron.
Yes, Steve, Ron Higgins, Memphis. Every year we come to this, and it seems like we're asking you about guidelines for Stephen Garcia. Can you just talk about your unlimited patience with Stephen Garcia? I mean, you've gone beyond what any other coach, I think, would do. What is it about Garcia that makes you hang in with him?
I guess we just want to kick him out for stupidity. And there's some reasons that he has probably done some things. And basically, we do believe he's a good kid, good person, and he's already graduated. So he's graduated, and with his latest incident, we told him he could go play somewhere else if he wanted to, but he wants to stay there. And he's really made some lifestyle changes to stay there, and hopefully it'll keep up. So we just felt like he was worth giving another opportunity to sort of change his lifestyle, and thus far he's done it.
All right, we'll go back to the right, about midway.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's skip it. We'll come back to that one. Let's go right up here to Parrish.
Okay.
Hey, Coach, with the receivers in the league last year, did you feel like Alshon Jeffrey was underappreciated? And can you just talk a little bit about what makes him a special talent?
Oh, I don't think he was underappreciated where we're from. I think he made first-team All-Conference, didn't he? I think he did. Second-team All-American, something like that. So, or first-team All-American. He made one of those first teams. So he wasn't underappreciated. No, he played very well. And what we like about Alshon and Marcus is they're 2 young men that you can brag on them. It doesn't affect them at all. They're some of our best workers. Marcus gets the hardest worker in the weight room award every spring, and Alshon has really improved his speed, his body size. When he got to South Carolina, he was about 245, just a big old guy out there that could really play, and now he's sort of thinned down to about 230, which he can carry easily. And he's a lot faster than he's ever been. So you got to admire how these guys work also.
All right, we'll try it again right over here. Again. Back.
Steve, Jim Mashik. I'm with jimmashik.com. Those of us who have been coming to this for a lot of years, we welcome you back. But last year we saw Steve Spurrier that was kind of taking stock. Did last year's season change you back to the guy we know and love? And if so, what's on the future, along with your plans beyond this year?
Well, again, most coaches, if they win a lot and win a lot of championships, they do talk a little bit more. You'll notice that all around. So I haven't won enough to be very talkative lately. That's his way life is, I think. But anyway, again, no, I don't know how to answer that question. Maybe I have changed a little bit, but I think it's all relative to going 7-6 instead of 11-12-1, huh? Well, it was a good year. It wasn't a great year. It was a good year for us. Again, we stretched our dimensions a little bit, but we've not hit where we believe we can go yet. And so we're still battling to win the game in Atlanta. If you can win the one in Atlanta, you can go on and win the national. It's proven the last 5 years. So we just talk about trying to win the East, win the game in Atlanta, and we'll see if we can do it.
Taking a break here in our coverage of the SEC Media Days, but you will...
It could happen, and so we didn't know how it could happen, and so we learned a lot from it. And I said, Chief, can you arrest me? Can you handcuff me today right after practice? And he said, sure. He said, what time? I said, well, I talked to the media boys about 6, so get out there about 5 till 6, something like that. So he's standing over there, and I'm talking to the media boys, and they don't really know what's going on. And he says, Coach, I need to talk to you about something. So he took me over to the side and handcuffed me, and none of them knew what was going on. And but anyway, and then he let me go after about a minute or two, So I guess I came back, and we said there was a robbery down at the convenience store, and somebody said the robber looked like that head ball coach at South Carolina. so he had to come talk to me. So, but anyway, we learned a lot about that. You can get handcuffed, no big deal. Don't worry about it. And sometimes mistaken identity allow the police to do their work. And we had another player. Same thing happened to him. He looked like somebody they were looking for. And so we don't get mad about it anymore. No big deal.
All right, we have one last one right up here. Last one.
Steve, I happened not to be in Destin, Florida when y'all had your winter meetings and what have you, and I wonder if you could put in context your advocating paying the players in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and the fact that you said that those that didn't advocate that would be made public.
Okay, just briefly, and again, I know I'm not going to change the NCAA or how we do anything, but I can give my opinion, and my opinion is that college football and basketball players should share a little bit more in the enormous amount of money that comes to our universities. And these are the two income-producing sports. And, the basketball and the football coaches, we make millions and millions, and the other sports, the softball, the volleyball, they don't make a lot of money. But the two big sports pay for all the other sports. And if there's a way to give our guys a little bit more spending money, that's what I was certainly for. And I just threw a proposal out there, and 7 of our guys signed it, and the other 5, I guess, didn't feel comfortable signing it. And that was that. I've already explain, I've given you my opinion, so there's no need to go back into it, but just the enormous amount of money that comes into college football, our players need to share in it a little bit, not a lot. I'm not trying to pay them to play. If we paid them for their performance, we'd have guys making $1 million a year. We got some guys a lot better than some of those NFL guys that are making $2 and $3 million a year as far as that goes. So I'm just talking about expense money, and allow those guys to live a little bit more like normal students on campus.
All right, thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you, man.
We'll have...
So we know South Carolina, they have plenty of cash, but evidently not as much as Mississippi State, because Dan Mullins rolled into Hoover, Alabama on a slightly larger jet. Yes, jet envy from Steve Spurrier. Here are what the Gamecocks are looking at for 2011. Open it up against ECU and Charlotte. See the non-conference games, including Navy, and then the 2 ones to close the season, the Citadel and Clemson. We've talked a lot about how there is a built-in advantage with perhaps the SEC East being down once again, maybe up a little bit from the season ago, but you see the contenders from the West. They go at Arkansas and at Mississippi State for South Carolina. Also heard Steve Spurrier talking about the notable firsts that were accomplished by this program a season ago. For the first time ever, they beat a #1 team, Alabama. For the first time ever, they win at the Swamp against the Florida Gators, and also coming off their first ever SEC East championship, but he also pointed out some of that momentum was nixed by ending the season with losses in the SEC championship game and also in their bowl game against Florida State. So what should the expectations be for South Carolina?
I think you just looked at their schedule alone and what that sets up for them. It's not the toughest schedule in the SEC. They play in the weaker division. I think they are. I think everybody has them pegged to be the SEC East champs, and I think that's accurate. You look at what they've got, the talent they have coming back, if they can figure out their quarterback situation. Steve Spurrier can manage the Connor Shaw, Stephen Garcia relationship, and he's already made it very clear they're going to compete during training camp, so he does have a backup plan. I tell you what, the sky could be the limit. This team could be in the hunt for the national title.
I think the key is going to be on defense. Ellis Johnson, defensive coordinator. Last year, they were not very good against the pass, 97 in the country. They were pretty good up front in the front seven. They were 12th in the country against the rushing attack. Jadeveon Clowney is going to be a big factor, in my opinion. This is a kid that can come off the edge and can be like an Eric Norwood type that Ellis Johnson used a couple years back and became one of the leading sack leaders in the history of the Southeastern Conference. Jadeveon Clowney could be that X factor that allows this defense to progress, get more pressure on the quarterback, and allow them to defend the pass and better.
And Steve Spurrier has done a great job, especially recruiting in-state and South Carolina. The two biggest late gets over the past 2 years, Marcus Lattimore, who's now toting the rock for them, and Jadeveon Clowney coming in as a freshman. So much expectations for a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, regardless of position, regardless of the hype. What is that transition like to be a true freshman and be expected to do a lot?
I've never really depended on true freshmen coming in. I've seen too many of them when I played football, and I'm sure you guys have also. The big-name guys come in, and they're supposed to change the program and change their position. Sometimes it works out. More times than not, it doesn't work out. So when I look at teams and I look at what they can do for the next season, I don't really count the freshmen coming in. South Carolina's pretty good on defense last year versus the run. One of the themes that it's been all day is this could be the year of the running back in the SEC. Well, South Carolina is set up for that because they were pretty good versus the run last season. So if they can stop the run, and this being the year of the running back in the SEC, that sets them up pretty good. Now, again, I think they can win the East, but I do not think that they can climb the last hurdle, which could be Alabama, maybe LSU. I just don't think they can get over. But as far as what they do, stopping the run, I think they'll be pretty good. Clowney, who knows? We'll see. There are big expectations. I would love to see him come in and play great football. I love to see a freshman story. It's just fun to watch. So we'll see.
Go back to the quarterback situation in Stephen Garcia, because we heard from Steve Spurrier saying very clearly there's guidelines that he has to meet for his return in August. We also heard many questions about Stephen Garcia, the multiple opportunities he has received, people questioning whether that's fair treatment. But Brian, you brought up a point during that press conference, just saying what's wrong with essentially helping a young man get his life on track.
I honestly think that Steve Spurrier cares genuinely about Stephen Garcia in this young man's life. And you heard him twice mention there are some reasons behind the behaviors that Stephen Garcia has shown. And we're all not privy to that. But Steve Spurrier is. And I think that he is trying to look out for the best interests of a young man, not necessarily a young player. And I think that's an important distinction, and one that Steve Spurrier may not have made earlier in his career. But Stephen Garcia has burned Coach Spurrier too many times for him not to hedge this gamble a little bit with investing in Connor Shaw for the coming season.
The thing that was real interesting, too, was that Coach Spurrier pointed out Stephen Garcia could have transferred and played right away because he was a graduate, and gave him that opportunity, said, if you want to go somewhere else, go ahead. But Stephen Garcia met with Coach Spurrier, met with the administrators, and said, all right, I'm going to come back. That's a good sign. The thing that kind of bothers me about this situation, why don't any of his teammates, his peers, just sit him down and say, look at this opportunity you have. Just, you know, behave for 5 months. Just stay out of trouble. And you could have this team in the national title championship game. You know, just try. I mean, it's not much to ask for 5 months just to stay out of trouble.
I've never felt that a teammate could talk a guy